Now it's time to talk about this line of best fit. Um, the definition in statistics for the line of best fit is right here. The line of best fit is the line for which the sum of the squared residuals is smallest. Now that's kind of a mouthful there, but really the part that we're looking at is the sum of the squared residuals. Okay, now we've talked about residuals before, but what is the sum of the squared residuals? Eventually, whenever you have a scatter plot, you probably are going to try to find a line of best fit. And, you can always estimate it and try to pick out 2 points. That's what you probably did in algebra. Try to pick out the two best points that best represent the data. Maybe this point, maybe you decide to use this point right here and this point right here, and you try to find the line that goes between those 2 points, and that ends up being your line of best fit. But in statistics, there's an actual formula to the whole thing. So I'm going to take us over to an online program. This is pretty cool. I like this. And I have a scatter plot here. Right? Here's my scatter plot, and here's my line of best fit. And I can move this line of best fit. I'm hoping that you guys can see this okay um, in the video. But here's my line of best fit, and I could try to estimate it. Maybe if I go through this point, and maybe go through this point, or maybe if I just think, all right, that's about my line of best fit. But remember, our definition says that we want to find the sum of the squared residuals, and when we find all the residuals and we square each one of them and we add them all up, we want that to be the smallest sum possible. So again, going back to our applet here, I want to first look at the residuals. So here are all the residuals. These little blue lines are my residuals. So I'm going to do everything that I can to try to make those blue lines as short as possible, because I want the line to make those little lines, those little residuals, as small as possible. Now I have some positive residuals and I have some negative residuals. Remember, residuals are the observed value minus the predicted value. Well, if I have positive residuals and negative residuals and I add all of them together, just the residuals, I'm going to end up getting 0 if I find the line of best fit. So I don't want to have 0, so I'm going to square them so I deal with positive numbers. So I'm going to change, so I do that again. Each of these residuals I'm going to turn into a square. Okay? When you square a value, you find the area. You literally are finding the area of a square that has a side length of that size. So you can see here, as I move around my guess at the line of best fit, the area of these squares is changing. I want to come up with, for my line of best fit, I want the sum of the area of all of these squares to be as small as possible. So let's take a look at the sum of all of them. I'm going to make a bad line of best fit. This right here is definitely not a good line of best fit. So down here is my sum of the squares, 1,299. I'm going to move this line of best fit until I can get the smallest possible sum of the squares. So I'm at 167, 162, about 159 right there. Maybe if I move this around just a little bit more, I can get a smaller value. There's 157. So can I get smaller than 157? Oh, where was it? Right about there. That is my guess at the best line of best fit. Okay, that's my best guess at this line of best fit. I've tried to make these squares as small as possible to get the smallest sum. Now, the nice thing about this applet is I can go ahead and actually find it. Let's see how close I was. So here's my guess at the best line of best fit. And here is the actual one. Oh, I was real close. If I take it right there, I got it down to 157 for the sum of the squares, and the actual one is 155. So that's the idea. So once again, let's get a new set of points, and let's take some of these off. Okay, here's a new set of points. I could try to find my line of best fit, maybe right in there. The residuals are right here. and I'm going to turn all the residuals into squares, and I'm going to look at the value, 386. I'm going to try to make this sum of squares as small as possible. I've got it down to 365 right there. I can get it down to about 356. So the sum of these squares are as small as possible to give me my line of best fit. Let's see how close I was. My sum of squares was 356. The best one is, wow, right on. I was spot on that one, so that's a pretty good guess. But that's what's happening when your calculator or you use some kind of online program finds this line of best fit. They are finding the smallest sum of the squared residuals to create their line of best fit.